Where are the lawyers in the house?
All right. All the lawyers in the house, stand up. We are rehearsing for the gala. We will be shining when we get there. Simama ucheze hata kama
Walunje wako wapi?
kama ulikula kuku during lunch time, wewe ni mluya. Simama. Haya. Mahali huko. Tunaenda. Twende. Hii usikae chini. Twende. Hey. Hey. Hey.
Wapi makofi ya Kayamba Afrika?
Thank you very much.
Naomba tena makofi ya Kayamba Afrika. What a nice way to push that food down the stomach so that it can be acted on. The enzymes waiting there. Now, we are moving or transiting into this session where we are having the young water professionals convener session. Before I invite the speakers, I'll give a little bit of background. So this session is sitting on page 22 of your conference catalog. Sorry. It is sitting on page 21, and it is Young Water Professionals and WASH Parliament. And the topic is laying foundation of young water professionals in Kenya. So this is a session that is sponsored by WASPA. WASPA is the chair of the governing council of IWA in Kenya. And under the IWA membership, because we are a member of IWA, that is, we are affiliated to the International Water Association, which also has a number of leagues. It has the Women League, it has the Young Water Professionals League. So these Young Water Professionals League are guided under IWA on how they need to be formed. So the young water professionals participate at the global level and also at the national scale. They are allowed to participate. From the national scale, you move down to the regional scale, then you can have it at the local or institutional level. Most water companies in our republic who are members also of IWA, including Nairobi Water, Thika Water, I think Kisumu, have very strong chapters of young water professionals, and even Thika Water, domiciled within their institutions. So as the governing council member of this great republic, we have a responsibility also to ensure there is coordinated effort within the country to have a national chapter of young water professionals where they can caucus together and ventilate on issues pertaining to WASH within this republic. And that is why we thought it was important to come up with this conference so that we can have a structured way in which the young people can engage each other. But as we are talking, we have the young people in Kenya in the WASH space operating in silos. And you are aware when you're operating in silos, much cannot be achieved. And that is why they say that if you want to walk fast, this is a saying I stumbled, and it is said by people who live in the southern part of River Limpopo, that if you want to walk fast, you do what? You walk alone. But if you want to go far, you walk with the others. And I think that is a vision that is domiciled within the association. And to that extent, what we had to do, we had to consult the different chapters that exist within the republic at the institutional level. And as we are talking, we have now an interim structure, which now brings a number of utilities, and we have also considered the regions, because if you look at our WASH space, you find that we have the waterworks development agencies, and we have followed the demarcations and ensure we have regional representation. So when we say Jeremy is an interim chairman, this is an interim office to spearhead, lay the foundation, strengthen it. But what we want is you young people to pick it up and run with it. So kindly ask you, don't ask a lot of questions. Who elected him? They were not elected, they were selected, if I have to answer you. But when you formalize and you have the caucus, you will have now the opportunity to run for elective office. So at this juncture, to me, it doesn't matter who is in the interim office, but what vision do we have? And even the Bible alludes to it. Where there is no vision, people perish. So you have the vision carriers. I'm standing here today as the CEO of WASPA. When WASPA was being conceived, I was nowhere. I didn't know even it exists. But you can see we have taken the mantle of leadership. We are running with this institution to ensure lives are transformed. And that is the clarion call that I'm inviting you to as a young person. That let us caucus together, let us craft the objectives together, then we run with this institution so that you have a single voice. And I'm happy the WASH Parliament is here, from Busia and Kakamega. So they don't say particularly, their focus is not WASH. They have a lot of things they deal, but they have a lot of interest in WASH. So they are stakeholders. So we have to carry them along as we go. So that if you discuss something in Parliament and it requires national appeal, let it come now to the national chapter, discussed, because we will ensure you are consulted by Parliament the way we are consulted by Parliament, you are consulted by policy makers, and already the process has started. The minister yesterday unequivocally declared, and she was succinctly clear, that all CEOs should stretch the internship opportunities beyond what government has put. You can see already it is taking shape, because youths will be employed. So that is the clarion call we are having, and that is why we want you to brainstorm and discuss. But it is important, as we start, we know what we have, and we have the end in mind. So I wanted to give you that background, but we need to move together. I hope I've been clear on the background of YWP. So who is championing it? It is championed by the council member of Iowa. What we are requesting you is to join us in this vision. And this is what we are articulating, so that together we are bonded, we are glued together to this vision. And I know we have that attitude that this can be done. So we want a strengthened, structured, young water professionals in this republic. So when you decide on issues and you say, we are here, the young people, we are agitating for 30% in every employment in this country, you'll be listened to. Mbona mpigi makofi? Because that is the numerical strength. But without preempting, I know Jeremy is coming, and that is why we are giving you the foundation. He'll be joined by other panelists so that we get the other perspectives, like the Parliament, WASH Parliament. What have they been discussing? Advocacy. We go to KEWASNET. What is their vision? How have they been interacting in the WASH space? How do they look at it? From what perspective? What can we borrow? How do we join forces? How do we synergize to take this discussion to another level? And we know that is humanly possible, because all these structures, we have been given power and we are going to put them in place. So without much ado, I would want to take this opportunity to bring in Jeremy Beru, who is the interim chair of YWP, the Kenyan chapter, to come and enunciate some of the key points that he has that relates to the young water professionals. Remember, there was a caucus here last month, and it is not his ideas. He is carrying on board sentiments of the young water professionals across the Republic. So Jeremy, why don't we invite him with a round of an applause? Makofi tena. I think I'm losing the voice, eh?
Sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Hamjambo. Nataka kusikia sauti zaidi. Hamjambo. My name is Jeremy Beru from Thika Water and Sewerage Company. I am the interim chair of Young Water Professionals in Kenya. To respond to the CEO, we have a vision. And our vision is to have an association that will look at investing in recruitment, and I'll explain that later, management and development of young water professionals, as well as put them at the forefront of design, development, implementation of the current change process. How will we do that? We will invest in young water professionals by empowering them with the association and the wash sector. We will do that because we are anchored to WASPA, who are supporting us greatly. Thanks to WASPA, we really appreciate. In so doing, we will be able to have one unit that can move our agenda forward, that we can have our voices heard and the like. So I know most of you are going to ask, why should we join this Young Water Professionals Association, or why should we create one? It's very easy, because one, we are going to be able to network, and that is key for us to be able to move forward. We'll be able to build our careers by connecting and contributing with our peers in the water sector. And you've seen that because we have technologies that we can learn from. We are the drivers of these technologies. And we can be able to push and make changes in the water sector. Why should we join again? So we can have one voice, and the CEO has talked about it clearly. So we can create an impact to address the challenges that we discussed in the pre-conference, to action the solutions that we discussed in the pre-conference, so that we can influence decisions and be part of policy making. So we need to come together. We also need to come together so that we can share experiences. I know each one of us here has an experience. Each one of us here has how they were able to mushroom from wherever, and you are now where you are today. So that's an experience that we can be able to share and learn from it. So we can tap into the knowledge of our seniors. And by so doing, I can tell you for a fact that these guys are ready to assist us. They're ready to hold our hands and walk with us. They're ready to motivate us. They are ready to impact on our lives. And they are ready to mentor us. I know most of you are going to ask how we are going to join this. We are creating a national chapter, which is being spearheaded by regional coordinators that are across the waterwork development agencies in the country. And from those regions, we are going to have chapters within the WSPs. So they can be able to have it as one unit and push it forward and have what I've just discussed here be a vision and be implemented. But then again, we have to strengthen this association. And how do we do it? We have partners who are ready to work with us. And I'll be glad to share today that after the conference yesterday, after the opening of the conference yesterday, I was approached, or rather we were approached by a private partner who I may not be able to say right now. And they are willing to partner with the youth so that they can be able to build on the challenges that we have through innovations and also through recruitment. And that is what I had said before, that I was going to explore more on the recruitment process that I spoke on. So the opportunities are endless. But then again, we also need to address certain things that might hinder us from getting to these positions or these places. And I'm going to challenge us by asking you, what do we have? What value can we bring on board so that we can have partners to work with us, so we can have WASNet to support us, so we can have the Youth Parliament to support us, so we can have WASPA to work with us, so we can have APHRC to guide us. What value are we going to bring on board? We have the ability to be techno-savvy, and we have some of us who are here who can do that quite well. So we can be able to have hubs for technology. We can have hubs for production. We can even have hubs for academia. And that is what we are going to bring to the table. Let us bring tangible matter for us to discuss and address. Because some of these things that we're going to do are not things that are not working currently. But it's because we want to make them work better. We want to make them more efficient. And it's within our hands. We have it here. And that's my challenge to you today. So, without much ado, I only want to leave us with one inspiring statement, that we are in charge of the future of the wash sector. Asanteni sana, and God bless you.
Makofi tena kwa Jeremy. Now, without much ado, so that we bring this into perspective, Jeremy, my apologies, I wouldn't have left you to leave the podium, so I'll invite you back as I also bring the head of programs at WASNet, Vincent Ouma, in this panel discussion. I don't want to pick the surprise on your face, as if you are not informed that you are a panelist here, but I want to take it as a nod. Why don't we appreciate him as he comes? We have worked with Vincent closely. His passion is on matters of sanitation, and he will be sharing with us some of the insights from the civil society perspective, as they have been working in the wash space. Now, to join this panel also, we have Hamed Chungani from Nairobi Water, who is in the young water professionals. And I think from the history of young water professionals in this country, I have only known Nairobi Water to be or have been actively participating on matters relating to water and sanitation. And I believe Hamed Chungani is in good perspective to tell us some of the challenges and opportunities they have been able to tap into within their networks that may be beneficial. As we move closer to the lake, we have Geoffrey Opio from Kisumu Water, who has interacted with young water professionals, I know, in this country and outside this country. He was in the Netherlands for some time, and he'll be able to tell us his experiences, both locally and also at international level, and how we can strengthen these networks for the benefit of young people. Finally, I want to bring a member of Youth Parliament in Busia, Christine Namaindi, who has been working closely on issues of advocacy, accountability with the young people within the WASH space, and she will be able also to enunciate her experiences with us. So I need to be assisted. We should have a roving mic, and Chungani, I want to start with you. Kindly put this in perspective from the young water professionals. What is in it? What benefits are likely to be derived? And what obstacles have you faced? And have you been able to surmount them, or they remain insurmountable?
Thank you, Chairman.
Maybe I need to limit. Is 3 to 5 minutes sufficient? How much time do you require? I'm very liberal.
Maximum around 6.
Okay.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be very brief. First of all, I'll give you the perspective of our chapter, that's Nairobi City Water and Sewerage Company. This one was a forum that was established for the young people, majorly below 35 years, as you have been told. And it was inspired in 2011 when we did have the first East African Young Water Professional Conference, which was held at Kenya School of Monetary. And at that time is when we conceived Nairobi chapter, the Nairobi City Water chapter. Currently, we have a total of about 40 registered members, and we have a program, we have actually a process how you are supposed to be registered, because we are guided.
Allow me to interrupt a little bit. So I want to be sure that these proceedings are covered. I'm coming back to you. Do we have a rapporteur here? Rapporteur? Who is taking notes here? Let me see by the show of hand. A rapporteur? Now, Paul, you need to fetch one. Otherwise, all this one is disappearing apart from what he's covering. So no rapporteur in this room. So kindly proceed.
So we are guided, as a chapter, we are guided by what we call a signed code of conduct and a constitution, which is supposed to be adhered to by all the members who are registered. So internationally, we have a wide network whereby we are connected in terms of mentorship and in terms of scientific writing of papers, which we have participated in a very multi-sectoral and conferences. Just even recently, the one we are having now, I think from Nairobi City Water, we have about six papers which have been done and are going to be presented. There is others going on. So what are the main objectives when we are coming up with this particular outfit? Is we've been looking on how to provide a generation in terms of innovative ideas, all of them touching on WASH. That's very key. Then through Iowa Connect, I think most of you know Iowa Connect, we've come up with the solutions for the emerging issues in both water and sanitation. But the key, one of the key objectives of our chapter is giving mentorship to programs for young water professionals, especially in water sector and those touching primary schools and also high schools. Because through them, then we are supposed to raise a generation which is going to give credit to WASH. And that one is going to actually, it's a solution before the problem. So some of the core values that we have is that we have immense commitment in terms of professionalism and beyond normal work duties. For instance, we know most of the Nairobi City, the Young Water Professional Chapter, they above coming to this particular conference, they also have their own normal work. So going out of that normal duty, it's what we call it's immense commitment. Writing a paper is not that easy. Then another one is personal responsibility and accountability. We have always taken an initiative to find that whatever that is we go through, we have supposed to be accountable to the company that is mostly sponsoring us or the one we are working for. Just to go through some of the achievements we've done, which is key. Internationally, we have what we call global recognition. Our chair, the current chair, sits in what we call the YWP Executive Council, whereby she holds, as a chairperson, she's supposed to credit or to organize all the events that happens in Kenya. So that's very key. And then in 2018, we were able to launch what we call Save the Drop in most informal settlements in Nairobi, whereby we had to go around telling people or communicating to them what we are supposed to do so that we don't have issues with water. In 2016, we also received seedlings from what we call Multi-Touch International. Because of the cooperation, we've said we have so many partners, at least some of them, but through them, we are given donation of seedlings, and every year we continue to participate in the planting of the trees at various levels. We have like the Suma Marathon, those who know that, we have Ndakaini. So young water professionals have been very immense in these activities. And then I've talked about research papers. So we have been, in all the issues, we have been putting ourselves at the forefront in giving these papers. And most importantly, if you can remember the AFA 2016 conference, we were the only rapporteurs, the young water professional rapporteurs who undertook that particular challenge, and we did it very well. We have future plans. I'll go through them. One of our key plan, or what we look into future into, is we want to have an area whereby all the water catchment areas, we plant at least 500,000 trees. That is going to save our water catchment areas so that we don't have deforestation and such issues when we don't have enough water. Then implementation of both domestic water saving tips, like I've said, Save the Drop, that is our future plan. Then what we call implementation of scientific solutions for the water sector in the entire of East Africa. And finally, engaging in various CSR activities. For example, we have been able to engage various primary schools. We have Kibera Primary School, we have Madare, we also have Mudhuru Kwanjanga, whereby we engage them on various issues on water and sanitation. Finally, we have key partners. These are the people we look up to when we are engaging all these issues. So we have like Iowa, I think Chairman has talked about that, catchment preservation activities by like Multi-Touch. We have WASPA, and the most important is our own company, Nairobi City Water, which actually sponsors us in most these cases. So I've lined all those things in terms of our objectives, and the challenges we have so far, and then our future plans. Thank you.
Thank you, Bwana Chungani. Now, a handful of activities, I think, for the young water, and I think we can borrow heavily on that. Maybe still from the W perspective, let me bring in Geoffrey into this discussion. Give us the Kisumu water perspective.
Thank you very much, CEO. My name is Opio Geoffrey. I'm the Planning, Design and Construction Engineer for Kisumu Water. Now, I want to go backwards a little bit where we're coming from as WSPs. We have something called metathesiophobia, okay? We come from where we fear change. And this is something that has happened over time. And I think, CEO, you are one time having these challenges, whereby the set of employees that you have will hinder you even from developing or growing the company, and also, at the end of the day, growing the wash sector. So what happens is we depended a lot on what you call cheap allegiances, where you really depend on whom you know, where you come from, who you are, what's your background, and all that. And this has really hindered us from moving forward. The youth begin from the age of 15, not the age of job entry. The job entry age is 18. We really need to look at how do we grow our WSPs as professionals. If you look at the country, Kenya, the most successful utilities are those that are most professional. You look at the management, look at the board of directors. If there's no professionalism amongst the leadership and within the amongst our staff, you find that we find ourselves stagnating about, we do what you call the horizontal motion. We cannot have vertical motion. So from the change, looking at the 2002 Water Act, this is the time when professionalism was introduced into the water sector. And this is where now we started seeing vertical motion. Us as youth, the time or the point at which we start complaining that we are having challenges, remember this field that we are getting into had already somebody with a mentality of, I belong here. But then, how then do we break this ice? How then do we come out of this phenomenon that we so-call belonging, okay? We need to have, number one, the environment, which of course I want to appreciate the CEO's WASPA is supporting the MDs in ensuring that the youth and the young leaders are appreciated, the professionals. And we must have this at the back of our minds. We don't want to be included as youth because we are youth, but we have to merit what we want. If you want to be somebody who's leading in a certain process or procedure, what do you merit? So this forum, the Young Water Professionals Forum, should be more or less like a tool to help us break this stagnation. We can come out of it by, first of all, advocating, okay? Number two, we consult. We grow one another. We have ideas. We help with incubation. We give one another support. Already in Kiwasco, I want to give an example. You have one of our staff who is also part of the Young Water Professionals. She just received an award in the last AFWA conference for coming up with an idea. Yeah, it's called Nico na Roll. And this idea was incubated, was discussed amongst the professionals. Further to this, we have come to identify a number of staff amongst ourselves who can be able to push us further to be able to have vertical motion. And with this, once we are able to strengthen the company, because we don't have to strengthen the youth and not strengthen our environment. You have to also strengthen the environment as youth so that you can be able to open up the environment, create opportunities, give ideas to the management. And then lastly, what I would say is, once you have that strength behind you, or the force behind you, as the young water professional body, you will be doing away with this problem of being singled out as one person who wants to change the general mentality of an institution. Because this is something that happens a lot. If you want to challenge a system as an individual, you might not be able to make it because you don't even have that convincing power as a professional to grow. But again, you need to ensure that you are somewhere where you belong and you can be able to have the strength behind you to push you higher. I think that could be my...
Thank you. I think we are picking salient features of each discussion. As much as we are strengthening that environment, enabling it, but you also need to invest and strengthen yourself. We were told in the morning that research drives what? Those who are here in the morning, research drives what? Development. Dr. Wale in the morning. So it is important you research as an institution, then you also do research as an individual. So that is what will drive development in you also. And I think I remember that when you come to that, and also it's important to have mentors. I was inspired when I was, I think, 28 years old by just reading a book, Benny Carson. He was the head of neurosurgeon department at Johns Hopkins University. At the age of 33, he was a CEO. Then I was saying, wow. So when I read the book, he said he was not doing well in class. But what did his mother do? He switched on the TV, locked them in the room with the sister, and gave books. So it took him time to acclimatize with the books. But within a few months, he was now on top of the class. Because he was told, you are not a fool. Even if somebody has told you a fool, you have a powerful machine here, the brain. And he used it. And true to that, from the inspiration, I also became a CEO at the age of 33. I was a managing director of a utility. I got the drive. I was a bursar. I remember working with a lot of keys. I accessed a lot of money, but I was never satisfied. Jacqueline knows. Then my vision was, I want to be the CEO of the most powerful organization on planet Earth. Yes, I'm a CEO, but I've not reached. Now, let me bring Namaindi into this discussion. That name has a lot of importance from where I come from. I won't tell you, but it is something good. Maybe you even had it for lunch. Tell us the perspective as you've been interacting with the youth in terms of accountability in WASH. What are the challenges maybe, and what are the opportunities? And what is the future outlook?
Good afternoon. My name is Christine Namaindi from Busia County. As I sit here, I'm wearing 3 caps. That is Gewasnet, Youth Parliament, and close to my heart, I'm a mother to so many girls in Busia County. But today I will address the issue of social accountability. As a social accountability champion, actually I just graduated a week ago under a program of Imara Fellowship. And the issue of social accountability is basically citizen-led action to put the public officers in check. In this aspect, when you talk of action, it's about a research of a water point, understanding if you're getting quality service delivery that you have paid for as a taxpayer. Because most of the time we tend to assume that if a water point is not working, we kind of don't care if it's working or not. When they decide to repair, it's fine. But when you're talking of social accountability, it brings those leaders to understand that money was allocated in this project and it needs to operate because somebody is paying for it. And when you talk about social accountability, definitely just helps to aggregate the voice of the disadvantaged and the marginalized in terms of enhancing the citizen and service provider relationship. In this case, we have different steps when we talk of social accountability. First of all, we have the management committee, because every water point has a management committee, which you have to get the story from the management committee because they understand best on how the water point works best. Then we have the key informant interview. That is the local, the local leaders. For this case, we can say the Liguru chief, sub-chief or assistant chief, who can give you details about the water point to understand about its delivery in terms of the service. Then we have also the focus group discussion. That is directly the beneficiaries, understanding from the beneficiaries how well they're getting service from this water point. So that brings the aspect of the social accountability, wanting to understand the nitty-gritty of how the water point operates and making sure that the taxpayer gets quality service from the leaders whom they elected in place. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christine. Now, to escalate that discussion within the perspective of the civil society, I want to bring in Vincent. Kindly avail a microphone to Vincent so that he has been working closely with young people, and he was very, very instrumental in the youth pre-conference, Youth and Women. And maybe, Jeremy, as you are looking into this, the way to strengthen the institution is to have different classes of membership. You will have the young water professionals as the substantive member, but open it to associate members who can mentor you. You can have mentors who are beyond the age of 35 to work together with the organization, and that will be very benefiting. So you can have different classes, institutions, organization, and already you can see, even without something structured, Jeremy says already a private, a member of the private sector is already willing to finance some of the innovative projects. Why don't we appreciate him? Because I know. So it means there is a lot that we can do, provided we have the right forum. So Vincent, without delaying you, let me bring you into this discussion.
Thank you very much, Bona CEO, Anthony Mbugo. We've worked a lot together in the sector, and I'm happy to be here today. Now, before I share just a few things on governance and what we've been doing at WASPA, I will tell you a story that will take 30 seconds. When I was a young boy, or a young man, so to speak, and still in college, so we started, I happened to be a student leader back in college doing public health. So we realized that our caliber, the government had stopped employing the public health officers at some certain levels that we wanted. So then there was this big conference in Kisumu, and as a student leader, I happened to be a part of that to represent the voices of the student. So there were all these big guys from government and from everywhere, and I was given an opportunity to speak, and I went straight for the elephant in the house. I made suggestions about the entry level for a graduate public health officer in this country, straight to the decision makers during that particular conference. So I stood up and I was like, once we're done with school, there was that particular grade that we were supposed to, the entry level. Something like K, entry level K at government. But what I was suggesting was much higher then that level came. And after my speech, when I went to sit down, because the room was really quiet, some very senior individuals in government came to me and told me that you've rattled the snake. Young man, be careful. And you know, that was really heavy, because I knew exactly what I had done. So that is how we started, pushing and agitating for employment of graduate public health officers. By that I mean, we had been having, of course, public health officers in this country, but at diploma level, not at degree, in very many sectors. So we walked that journey for many years, even after I left school. And at some point, the government agreed to start employing these fellas. And right now, there are so many of them in government, graduate level and above. And from that push that we made at some point, we had now the so-called mature students, people who had done public health at lower levels. They started coming back to school and doing their degrees and then proceeding to masters and all that. But this story, I mean that sometimes it does not require an entire village to bring change. It's just a few people that believe in it, and they can bring change to a very big space. Now, speaking briefly about WASPA and what we are doing in terms of governance in the water sector, you see, when we look at governance, we are simply looking at the processes and the structures that ensure that there's accountability, there's transparency, there is adherence to the rule of law, there is integrity, and there are all these things that we need to see as far as the management of public affairs is concerned. And for us at WASPA, we want to see that these things are happening within the water sector, water, sanitation, hygiene, and water resources management. So we've been in this space for quite some time at WASPA. And last time when we were here and speaking with Anthony, thinking through establishing these young water professionals, I was challenging him that we need to make this thing even bigger so that it is not just youth that are employed by water companies in this country, but it is going to go to the youths that are outside the water companies. So long as their space is within water, sanitation, within the country, whether they are within the water companies or they are within the NGOs, they are within the civil society, and any organization, but their work touches on water, sanitation, water resources management, hygiene. I think this should be the right place for them to be and to take part in this discussion, because they have not been there, so to speak, because sometimes maybe it's not all that nice, especially when you talk about sanitation and hygiene. So for us, we went out as part of encouraging that, to establish the youth parliament together with Kwaho and many other people within the team. This is on a trial basis, but we wanted to go further in Busia, in Kakamega, and in many other places that we will be able to do this. So for WASPA, we offer to build capacities of the youth, the young water professionals, in terms of WASH. I had my colleague talked of capacity building. We are going to join hands to do that and to make sure that we grow together. Thank you very much, Santa.
Thank you very much. Don't worry, we'll appreciate all of them when the opportune time comes. Now, this reminds me, it's very important to build synergies. The disciples of Jesus thought that they were the only disciples. There were no other disciples. Then they told the master, we saw somebody exorcising demons. Then he asked them, what did you do? Then they said, we told him to stop. Then the master told him, that is not right. Whoever is on our side is not against us. So to me, it doesn't matter the vehicle. So long as we are having the discussion within the water and sanitation space, be it in a parliament, be it in a professional caucus, be it behind the tent, and it is able to be escalated to the highest echelons of power, to me, I think that is welcome. So I think it is important as we go along, we pick everybody along. Because what we are doing now, we have been having many streams, but as streams come together, they join a river. And it is not a river that joins a stream. It is a stream that joins a river. So I think we need to walk that talk together. So this is very exciting discussion from the civil society, utility perspective. Now I want to escalate it to the General Assembly. What are your thoughts? What are your contributions? What are your compliments? What are your questions? I pick a set of 5. You can direct it specifically, but I want to believe that we have the answers ourselves. So question number 1, check here. Number 1, number 2, number 3, mark your number, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, number 8, number 9, number 10. So we have the set of 5. So you have given number 1. Is that number 1? Give it to number 1.
Hello. Hello, I am Chebet Abigail Cheserem. I have just completed my studies, bachelor degree, civil and structural engineering, and I am currently waiting for my graduation. So what is my place in the young water professionals?
Jeremy, pick
Thank
that.
you.
Just hold it. You will answer. Number 2.
My name is Nyambura Virginia from Kilifi Water. Mine is just a request to Vincent at WASNet to ensure that we roll together. Please, kindly include Kilifi Water, or the youth of Kilifi. We promise to cooperate.
Vincent, that is yours. Number 3. I like it. It is short, precise, and to the point.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Maureen Mwende, an internal auditor in the Embu Water and Sanitation Company. My contribution to this basis of talks that we are having is that how do we create a safe space for the young girls that will come in, the young women that are in these, maybe these young water professionals, and also how can we create more awareness to this YWP, because most of us, speaking for myself, I had not heard of these young water professionals before, and I currently learned about it. So how much more can we go deep into other water companies, because I've only heard of Nairobi Water and Thika Water. Thank you.
Jeremy, pick part of that. I'll also delve into it. That is number 3. Number 4. Number 4 is here.
My question goes to Jeremy. Young water professionals are intending to bring on board, I think, the community. For starters, water-related issues affect everybody in the communities, both the learned and the unlearned. How is the young water professionals working around it to absorb the young and professionals outside there?
Last one. Jeremy, that is a fully loaded one, so shikilia hapo kwanza.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Felix Brian Kwena. I work for Kenya Water for Health Organization as the project manager for WASH governance programs. Now, the first one, I think Vincent kind of spoke to it, that the young water professional seems to only have space for government actors, but the intention, I think, is to create more space for non-state actors. And I would possibly go further and say that what I have learned in the sector is that many people who find their way into the water space did not necessarily study water in campus or whichever institution that is. Now, if this forum kind of limits its membership to just those who are in the sector, then where is the space for the parliaments that, for example, we have set up? Because besides Busia Youth Parliament, the Kakamega Youth Parliament, which were set up last year, I think this year we have also established the Kajiado Youth Parliament and the Kwale Youth Parliament. Now, these are platforms that young people use to engage with government. And I think they've made tangible results out of that. I know we have the two speakers from Busia and Kakamega in the room, and they would have a lot to say about what they have already done in the 1 year they've been operating. Now, what I would also wish to ask, and this I think goes to my friend in a black suit, that while
that
the
is
network,
Bwana Chungani of Nairobi Water.
yes,
Yes.
that while the network kind of largely speaks about profession, I think we are also looking beyond just that. And coming from a civil society perspective, we are also keen to see that how does, the young people caucus hold government to account on certain issues. So how are we as young people, besides being beneficiaries of that tagline, also using that tagline to hold duty bearers to account? How are you improving the water space? How are you improving governance in the sector? And I think this is largely what the parliaments do. They have a framework. In that framework, it's a first kind of framework. And just so that everyone knows how the parliament is established, is that it brings together different youth setups within the counties, and then these setups are converged to form what we are now calling a parliament. So already the parliament is kind of a consortium of several youth setups within the respective counties. Now, after setup, what happens is that these parliaments usually get their capacity developed. And like I said earlier, it's because the understanding is that water is a cross-cutting component, and you must necessarily not be in the sector to be affected with such issues. So this is why we invest in building their capacities, and the idea usually is that we have a set of young people who can constructively engage in matters water and sanitation. So this takes some time. Right now, I think we are at that phase in most of the parliaments. The next phase, of course, will be now one to kind of elevate the parliaments further and escalate that which they are doing to include thematic sector issues. And then, of course, after that, we will now start doing monitoring. Already, we are doing online monitoring. We are checking that which government is doing in the counties we are focusing in, and we have very tangible outcomes of such engagements. So thank you, and I hope we can get a few answers on that.
Thank you very much. You said your names and you're from Kwaho?
Yes, my name is Felix Brian.
Okay, thank you, Felix Brian. I think what you've done, you've illuminated about what the WASH parliaments do, and also in the process, you asked a barrage of questions, and I want to believe that they have been picked up. That is very good. Now, I want to recognize at this point in time that we have received a special guest, and I want to recognize the Chief Administrative Secretary in the Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation, Dr. Andrew Twimur. Karibu sana. Why don't you welcome him with... So this is a session on young water professionals, and also we have the Youth Parliament, so it's young people within the WASH space that have congregated here. We had some presentation from the interim chair, and we have panelists here who come from the WASH Parliament, the civil society, and the utility. And now they are trying to deliberate on the issues that affect them. So we have received the 5 set of questions, and I'll bring back to you, Vincent, so that you can answer a number that you have already noted. Then we go to Jeremy and others that have been involved in that order. Let's make it short. We are out of time.
All right, thank you very much, Bona CEO. I think I had like 2 questions that I will quickly go through. The youth group from Kilifi. Yeah, I think let us speak after this. We see how to include you because we've been doing a lot of work in Kilifi. I think that is straight ahead. I'll also attempt to respond to a question by one of the speakers who asked over how do we create safe space for women and I think young people within the water sector. I think this is very key to all of us. And what I would say here is that it's very important when you are getting into the sector and you are a young person to work with a mentor. I can tell you that the many things that I've been able to accomplish within the sector, even as a young person, there was always somebody who was holding my hand. There are always these people that I looked up to as mentors, and even now I still have a good number of them. It's important for you as a young person, as a youth who's just getting into the sector right from school, identify somebody that can support you through, because the challenges it's not gonna be a walk in the park. There are challenges in there, and you need somebody that has gone through that to really hold your hand and to support you. I think I will pick those 2 questions, and for Brian from Kwaho, I think as far as who constitutes the young water professionals, this is something that we are already talking about, and we say that it's not going to be only the water companies, but all the youth that are involved in water and sanitation in this country, whether from government, from CSOs, from NGOs. I think we need to establish this movement, and we need the youth, the young people, and the women to be felt that they are contributing. Thank you very much. I will pass on to my colleagues.
First of all, I'd like to congratulate the young engineer. It's great that you're in this forum, and this is the right place for you. You asked the place of graduates in the young water professionals. And I'll tell you, our doors are open. There are limitless opportunities for you people. And we are looking forward to you to bring on innovations that you've planned and implement them in the wash sector. So what I'd like to tell you is that we're also going to have mentorship programs to assist you to grow into a fully fledged engineer with a bright future and great innovations that are going to bring on board. I also got another question here of how much more are we going to, or how much more WSPs are we going to bring on board? One, we have this national chapter that we are formulating now. We also have the regional coordinators from the WWDAs around the country. And from that, we are going to have chapters within the WSPs that are going to now absorb each and every member who is a young water professional in the WSP, so we can be able to bring them on board to the national chapter. But the work of the regional coordinators will be to coordinate within their regions all the other WSPs within those regions, so we can be able to have as many members as possible. We want to have a very strong association, and that is our dream. There was another question on how we are going to absorb the unprofessional professions into the sector. I would like to allude to what the chairman of WASPA said yesterday, that the WSPs have jobs that can be done by these people. We can have technicians to carry out those